Welcome to the Stone Age lakeside settlement of Parkhouse Opera in Zurich. Have a look around. It's the 3rd of May, 3173 BC. The village was built 2 years ago and will remain like this for another 13 years. Another settlement is only about 100 metres to the south. Zurich had at least 300 inhabitants at this time. For the era, that's quite a population. There was a fence separating the northern part from 2 southern settlement quarters. The inhabitants of these 3 quarters used different tools, raw materials, and in certain respects, even focused on different activities. So, in this society, there were considerable social differences, and the groups, whoever they were, felt the need to separate themselves from each other. Through this gap in the fence, one could enter the northern quarter, where the largest houses are. As the settlement was situated in shallow water, people moved from platform to platform, and sometimes probably right through the buildings. Next to the fireplaces, there were openings in the floor to dispose of rubbish and animal dung. It was probably the toilet too. Even human bones went through here, but we don't yet know why. Here, by the way, you can see the famous wooden door of Zurich Parkhouse Opera, the second oldest preserved wooden door in the world. Let's go through to the main alley. The platforms nearly touched and thus formed a kind of alley. This is where the majority of daily work and social life took place. Here, people cleaned cereals, repaired fishing nets, sharpened their stone axes, and, most of all, had their conversations. But now, let's have a look at the production zones. At the moment, the water level is low. In summer, it will be 1 metre higher. In the shallow water, you can see the effects of pollution by humans on the lake. Reeds grew here, but not naturally. Reeds need the human eutrophication, and so mainly grew close to settlements. Here, in the seasonally flooded wetland forest, the human impact is clearly visible. Look at all those stumps where trees were cut for construction timber. The oaks that were preferred for building houses grew only on the edge of the forest. Most of the woodland consisted of beech trees. Meadows of grass were developed only in the Bronze Age, 2,000 years from now. To provide fodder for the cattle, people cut the twigs and leaves from the trees at regular intervals. Look at the special growth that this practice has caused. The same oak trees were also used for timber. From the stumps, new trees resprouted and, after a few decades, were cut again. Stone Age forest management was aimed for maximum profit. The animals browsed the surrounding woodland for several kilometres, but beech woodland has little undergrowth to offer. So, during the summer months, herdsmen took the animals to distant places for browsing. For example, some kilometres further south on the other side of the lake. Along fields and paths, thorny, fruit-bearing bushes grew, such as sloe and blackberry. They provided fruits, but also protected the fields from wild animals. Stone Age farmers grew mostly cereals, but also flax, peas and poppy. To retain soil fertility, they let a field rest from time to time and browsed animals there instead. Then they burned down upgrowing bushes and restarted growing crops. To provide supplies of fruits, Stone Age settlers fostered the very rare wild apples and pears. Probably they had orchards like this one. Certainly they looked after hazel bushes well, because hazelnuts were very important. Neolithic settlers have created a cultural landscape from woodland. But after about 250 years, the local oak stands were depleted and browsing had become too intense. The area wasn't productive enough anymore. In 3050 BC, the settlers moved to the lakeshore about 15 kilometres to the south. They probably started a similar story again there.